Hi, this is Thanarynak with another Sailor Moon Crystal episode thoughts. This is for episode 26. And this is basically the wrap up for the R storyline. The first half is mostly the final battle with Nemesis. Which of course we have Sailor Moon, Tuxedo Mask uniting their power and then having Chibiusa come join them and kind of add her power also to the mix to finally defeat Nemesis. I guess for the most part, like most of Crystal, it kind of stayed rather true to the manga source. I think the biggest changes is the fact that, again, they definitely tried to get all of the Sailor Guardians to at least say something during scenes, instead of just relying on one or two of them, like in the manga it usually was. And I think there's a couple scenes where it seemed like they just kind of put two of them together just to kind of save time a little. Though that didn't happen too often, even then it wasn't in a way that really strayed from the source too much. So not too much indifference from the manga. Of course, in this episode we do have Neo Queen Serenity actually, awake and doing things, which is nice in a way. It kind of feels like in this episode she kind of makes up for the fact that she's been out of the picture for most of this series with that. I do always love the fact that, it's her kiss that kind of wakes up King Endymion. Just kind of the whole role reversal in a way for the whole usual Sleeping Beauty trope kind of thing with that. And yeah, I mean, she's pretty much boss. She gives everyone power-ups and like new weapons and everything. But then again, we also do have her see that, she's definitely Usagi in the sense that even though, it's not supposed to happen, she still makes sure that she gets to see her younger self off. And that's just something that really came off as being just really Usagi, in nature. So really love that. Of course, the second half of basically this episode, it's all kind of set for pretty much preparing everything for the next story arc, which kind of makes it a big awkward for Crystal, especially since we don't know if we're even going to get S next, or when, or whatever, as this episode kind of ends with, see you later, but no mention of when that later is. I mean, I had a feeling when we had no announcement for continuation or any episodes after 26, before the past episode came out, that we probably were going to have to at least wait a while. But apparently all we know is that Toei, they're going to make announcements, and hopefully one of those announcements will, clarify what's going on with the Crystal anime, since it is a very, very awkward place to kind of end, because like I said, everything's kind of gearing up for the next story arc, where, Neo Queen Serenity, she goes ahead and powers up the Sailor Guardians. Sailor Moon, she gets her new transformation brooch. The fact that we end with Chibiusa returning to the present day to continue her training with everyone at the very end, so it doesn't really seem like an actual end. It definitely seems, everything about it points towards this series continuing on to at least one more storyline, and it's kind of disappointed to end here also because S is one of my favorite stories. And I think overall it's a fan favorite in general, especially since we get the rest of the Outer Guardians. Uh, and I was really looking forward to, having them and having uh, having this really faithful adaptation to it, as, Crystal has been. And now having no idea what's going on there, that's just kind of really disappointing. I know, there's nothing, Crystal isn't perfect, but, it does a very good job of pretty much giving fans a very faithful adaptation from the manga. It gives a version of Sailor Moon in animated form that you can actually watch rather quickly, instead of the original anime, which, is about like 200 episodes long, and that's not adding any of the special episodes or like the movies into it. So, Crystal kind of worked at being really compact, really kind of a real easy watch in a sense, where you don't have to put a lot of time on the side for it. You could just kind of like zip through it in comparison to the original anime, and I think that's is going to be a strength in the long run, because I think they're both really entertaining for kind of different reasons, but needless to say, when it comes to like anime and manga, anime tends to be a lot more popular in general, I think, with like the international audience. So I feel like Crystal in a way is kind of important with like continuing, I guess, making Sailor Moon a series that people will continue to discover and hopefully learn to love, as so many fans have already done. So I really hope that we are going to eventually get more Crystal, and that they just feel like they need to take a break and maybe they'll restart. Because I guess one issue there would be was the fact that even though the first two storylines, they end very well with like an anime series run, the next two, I think, if I remember right, chapter-wise, they're not going to be able to match episode by chapter without ending on like a kind of odd number for an anime series, because I know to like finish the whole run, I think it's like a total of 60 episodes they would need, and that's usually not the length of the usual like anime series, so maybe they're trying to figure that out, or maybe they just feel like they want more time this moving forward. I don't know. I just hope that we get the announcement soon and we figure out what's going on. But yeah, back to the episode itself. It's basically wrap up for the most part. I mean, the battle really isn't much. I guess unlike with the original storyline, it's just kind of hard to get too invested in the final battle in comparison, just because the villain doesn't seem to be as, I guess, personal, or just the villains themselves. But it's done basically. It always feels like that season that you kind of have to get to S, for me, and not too much of it has changed even with Crystal. But overall, still rather enjoyed it. Like I said, it's nice to have a really faithful adaptation to the manga in animated form. Though sometimes I wonder if it's maybe like a little bit too faithful. Like the fact that, we see the future Sailor Guardians and stuff, but their outfits or their uniforms, they're exactly the same as the current, younger versions. Which seems weird. I mean, because if you've read the manga, you know that these change over time, so it's like I have to wonder why they reverted back to the old form and aren't like in their eternal forms. I mean, I know it's like massive spoilers, but at the same time, you know, it was the fact that Usagi becomes Neo Queen Serenity, um, and all of that. So I think that's like one of the changes that I kind of wish they would have actually made. I think a lot of people would have been really excited to have seen that. Uh, because, you know, if they were able to work in kind of like human Luna into like the first story arc and, you know, show greater hints of that, I don't see why they couldn't have done like the eternal versions of the Sailor Guardians for this. Uh, so that was a little disappointing, and kind of one of those times where I wish they kind of used the fact that, unlike the original anime series, they know how this is going to end, you know, when they're making it. But I guess that more or less wraps up all my thoughts, so I'm just gonna end it here, because I just feel I'm gonna start rambling all about whether or not this is going to continue or not, and I think I'd rather save that for another video. So, ending it here. Thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe to my channel, leave a like or comment. Until next time. Bye.